Hello and welcome to this week's vlog. What I wanted to talk about today is the curious relationship that exists between television and the world of the paranormal. Now, I remember back in the 90s, the BBC did a drama called Ghost Watch, which went out one Halloween night. It was a drama series, it was a very well written drama, and basically it scared a lot of people. It was very psychological, it was a good chiller, and it presaged, I suppose, the arrival of Most Haunted and the various other raft of shows that have come along since on that kind of theme. Basically, I had a group of BBC live broadcast people going into someone's house that was said to be haunted and having quite a frightening experience. And there were certain references to real-life investigations that have been done by professional groups, and some of the most famous poltergeist cases in British history. The Enfield poltergeist basically was the sort of the core of the story. Now, since that moment in television, the paranormal has become so much intertwined with the TV genre. It's quite hard to see them as two separate things because, you know, there are so many paranormal research shows, and I think the risk of doing that, so many of them, is that people tend to start seeing them as quite trite and possibly a little bit daft. And of course, it's all a question of belief. Me personally, I do believe in the spirit world, paranormal, always have done, always will do. And of course, other people don't, and that's absolutely fine. You know, people, each to their own beliefs, is what I always say. But one of the things I find annoying about these sorts of shows is that they can be terribly formulaic. You know, certain things will happen at certain times in every episode, and that's common with a lot of reality TV shows, obviously, but with the paranormal, it in a way seems to be, let's set all the equipment up, now let's go around, now let's have an EVP session, and so on. And these are all very genuinely important parts of a paranormal investigation, but the TV genre makes it all seem so mundane, when really, you know, it's such an untapped seam of mystery, and we don't know half of what, you know, we think we do about the world of ghosts and hauntings. Obviously a lot of tradition and folklore, but what's really going on? I mean, the science of it all hasn't really even begun to be explored yet, let alone accepted in some cases. So, you know, if they were a little bit less routine, it would help. It would also help if they didn't attract quite such a lot of vitriol from, you know, people, because they basically don't give you enough information. And this is not the fault of the viewer, this is the fault of the show. If you were able to see, you know, that there really was no one else in the room when a certain sound was heard, then I say, you know, that is really what they should be doing. I would say there is one show that does tend to do rather better. The one I've been watching very recently, called Ghost Hunters International. It was a US show, and basically, you know, it's a lot more scientific than most research programs of this particular genre. They tend to show you the room, the equipment, they do proper little checks, they make sure that floorboards and doors and so on can't be making the noise that you hear. And that really, if you're going to take a proper scientific view, and there's no reason not to, is exactly how it should be done. Most Haunted has been criticised, and probably rightly so as well, for not being that scientific. When it started in its first season, it was quite sort of, you know, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, and what could that sound have been, and so on. And one gets the feeling that as it went on, it got increasingly theatrical. And I think I sort of went, oh dear, when they introduced Ouija boards. Now, the Ouija board, of course, is highly debated among many people. I don't particularly like them. I think there is an element of danger, whether it's psychological or spiritual. I'm not honestly completely sure. I think they are a bit like opening a door. And if you open a door and you hold it open and you don't sort of control what comes through and goes out, you could be opening yourself up to risk. But of course there are people who dispute that and say the Ouija board is nothing more than autonomic movement. People's subconscious minds guiding their hands as they move a glass over a board. However you look at it, though, they're not the most easy things to prove scientifically that really what you're seeing could be considered paranormal, if you believe in such things. And often with most haunted Ouija board sessions, they would end up doing that pretty much every episode. And it would be very difficult for the viewer to know whether it was one of them moving it, whether they were aware of it. And of course, a parapsychologist would say that too. Kieran O'Keefe himself says it many times. However, that is not to say that I don't believe they actually are doing something, because I think they are. It's just difficult to see it on TV, and that's the thing. For a long time, there was nothing like Most Haunted, Ghost Hunters International, Paranormal State, all these shows, on TV, and people didn't really have much exposure to the subject. But it seems to be something like, we're so intrigued, aren't we, about the universe, about what's at the bottom of the oceans, about all these things, and yet there are certain things that we don't tend to sort of get scientifically involved in, and one of them is the paranormal. The other one you could argue is ufology as well, but yet there's a lot of very strong evidence for both hauntings and the existence of aliens and UFOs and so on. So where is the future of paranormal TV going? This is an interesting question. I mean, it's gone live, it's gone interactive, it's gone everywhere, but I suppose the real pièce de résistance that people are really looking for is for an apparition or a spirit to show up, or to appear, not show up, on camera, and to actually address the camera and talk. And I would argue that that is one of those golden moments that may or may not happen, because it's interesting when you look at paranormal research even, a lot of the time when cameras are running, you don't always see things on camera, you hear them rather than see them, and it's often when people aren't looking that stuff happens, and then you turn around and suddenly see something out of the corner of your eye. So, but I may be wrong. And in fact, now thinking about this, there is one show that I've seen, and this is another American show. It's called Dead Famous, with Gail Porter, an American medium. They go to the Whaley House in San Diego, which is famously haunted, one of the most haunted houses in America, in fact. It's even on a list of haunted houses, and they are filming upstairs in the dark, as you would, and then in one shot, for about 10 seconds, there's a man standing at the back of them, at the top of the stairs. Now, it isn't one of the crew, because they're all on the left, and this man is dressed in very distinct period clothing. What's more, he's very slightly translucent, and I would argue that's one of the most striking examples of apparition appearing on camera. But the interesting thing is that no one seems to say anything about it, and one would think that will be a fairly eye-opening moment. So, who knows where it's all going to lead? What I know is that I will never stop believing, and if one day a TV show comes along that can be properly, scientific and kind of open-minded about everything, that would make truly interesting viewing. Well, that's all we've got time for today, but as always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again in a week. So until then, whatever you're doing, have a good one. Until then, bye for now.